In school, we are being taught the fundamentals of math, physics, biology. We are being taught theories on how the world we are living in operates. But at no point we are learning how we can operate through life. We study math for 11 or 12 years. But how long do we study about patience, perseverance, compassion, civic responsibility? How many of us graduate school feeling like we can be leaders of life? At school, we're being taught that the better grades we earn or the better we memorize the material given to us, the better chance of success in life there is. True, but only when developing IQ goes hand in hand with exploring, developing, and enriching our unique innate qualities too. From very early in life, we are being pushed to perform better and better, thus constantly competing with the very people who are actually supposed to be our support system in the developmental process. The people that we spend the majority of time with, our classmates. Instead of focusing on learning about other kids, delving together into the unique talents and gifts each one has been endowed with, and helping each other pull out the best of this uniqueness. We are being pushed to constantly compare ourselves to others based on external criteria that have nothing to do with our inherent talents. In a school class of 20 or 25, it's only normal that some children would grasp math better than others, or that languages would come to some with more ease. But what if any of these kids had a talent for public speaking, and yes, even at the age of 10 or 11? Or some art craft? At what point do we actually, and do we at all, look at each person for who they really are? An individuality. And when we are in this kind of constant competition, how do we expect to act differently when we are 25 or 45? How do we expect any different behavior from our support system, be it colleagues at work, PhD researchers, actors, or any others? There goes the competition again. It becomes even worse when we transfer this kind of attitude and unconscious tendencies in our homes, and we start to compete with our partners, and sometimes even with our parents too. Why? Because in school, we are never being taught to value our own unique individualities, let alone those of others. So life turns into a constant battle of incomparable hallmarks, which can, in many cases, lead to anxiety and complete exhaustion, because we keep trying to evaluate our own selves through the achievements of others, instead of through the prism of our own unique skill set and talents. Let me share a personal experience to illustrate what I mean. I am very fortunate to have had amazing teachers over the course of my studies, and to also have been a part of a class of very, and I mean very smart kids. However, most of us would always compare test grades with each other. Sometimes we would ask others for their grades before even finding out our own. In some cases, it wouldn't even matter how much one got, as long as it was more than the rest. So, at some point, studying became a competition of memorized knowledge, rather than a source of joy and understanding of the world. Suffice to say, this is when and how one starts perceiving and understanding the world through the achievements of others. Of course, I'm not claiming this is the case for everyone, but I bet that if you close your eyes and think about your school days without any pretense, chances are you'd remember that one person, or maybe even a few, that you were always in competition with. Fast forward to more than a decade and a half later, when one of these girls I was always comparing myself with and I actually started spending time together and getting to know each other. Because guess what? All of those years in school were not enough. This is when we both realized the kind of ways we were both shaped in by this constant competition in our childhoods. When we made the effort to actually see beyond that, we realized how much we had in common, including some inherent talents too. So many qualities were left unseen and underappreciated because we were blinded by seeing each other only as a test grade. So can you imagine how different it would be if we had other criterions to judge each other on beyond just the greatest denominator? And I'm not even going to discuss the absolute truth that bad grades in school in no way mean one is not going to live a fulfilling, contributive, and valuable life. One of the causes of the chaos in society today is the confusion of knowledge with wisdom. Knowing how to apply the knowledge we have acquired is where wisdom comes in. We can accumulate all the knowledge we like, but without wisdom to guide us, it produces nothing of value. Memorized information alone always remains on the level of the conceptual. Wisdom, in contrast, operates on the level of real life. It is a source of power for living, for surviving, and coping. It is wisdom that leads to our success and happiness. Knowledge alone cannot produce happiness. Many people don't understand this and remain under the illusion that knowledge is all that matters. Knowledge gives rise to wisdom. Knowledge is the pump, and wisdom is the water that we get from the pump. If we cannot obtain water, the pump is useless. Education is a uniquely human privilege. It should be a source of inspiration that enables us to become fully and truly human, to fulfill a constructive mission in life with composure and confidence. The task of education must be fundamentally to ensure that knowledge serves further the cause of human happiness and peace. Education must be the propelling force for an eternally unfolding humanitarian quest. It is my deep belief that just like we are being taught the fundamentals of mathematical theories, chemical formulas, and geographical maps, we should focus education on learning to recognize and develop skills that later on in life become the very assets that help us sustain meaningful existence. So how about introducing games or role-play simulations that help kids cultivate a sense of compassion and tolerance? How about introducing exercises that stimulate children to look for other kids' unique skills and discuss them with appreciation? How about instilling in children the belief that they are safe and secure being surrounded by others who are not as smart on paper, or who are smarter for that reason? These all might sound like vague suggestions, but think about people who are perceived as successful in life, in society. What do they all have in common? They are usually leaders who inspire large groups of people. Tolerance. Or they are philanthropists weaved by compassion. Or just entrepreneurs who are mad confident about their ideas and visions. In other words, the qualities that I just described did not just somehow magically appear or materialize in these individuals' characters. At worst, they were learned. At best, they've been discovered and then cultivated. This is why I believe leadership can be discovered, cultivated, and learned at a very young age. And when it is, one has a much bigger chance of actually applying these skills in whatever sphere of society he or she chooses to pursue. Because leadership is not exclusive to politicians, public figures, or business gurus. Teachers, doormen, doctors, bakers are all leaders because leaders are not just people we see on TV or magazine covers, but the ones we see every day in the subway while on the way to work, or the ones we greet good evening in our neighborhoods on our way back. To have this kind of belief, though, we must start instilling it at a very young age. Leadership is an inherent trait of anyone. And it's only when each one of us is awakened to this understanding that we will treat others with tolerance, compassion, admiration for their difference and uniqueness. And instead of comparing and competing with them, we would actually mutually inspire and encourage each other to feel good about who we truly are. It is only through this kind of interactions that we can build relationships based on mutual respect and appreciation. And as grand as it might sound, these relationships are precisely what can lead to peace and understanding on a global level. So So if you believe that young people inherently possess the capacity and desire to transform the world, join us in our movement to help them do so. Go to corecurriculum.global and share with us your experiences, ideas, and comments.